low-flying helicopter ride presents the breathtaking beauty of the Mekong River Delta. The source of the Mekong is high up in the Tibetan Himalayas, and as the river flows into the South China Sea, its massive delta of waterways and canals make for some of the most fertile farmland in the world, and South Vietnam's most densely populated region. Yet to an American serving here in 1967, Vietnam will always be a land of great contrasts. For throughout these mangrove forests, coconut groves, rice paddies, and villages, the Viet Cong enemy thrived. And it was the job of the sailors assigned to the U.S. Navy's mobile riverine forces to sort out the good from the bad.
Wind 0354 port, 9 knots over. Seawolf 4, on my way in. Sign at 2, roger out.
Yankee Echo, Yankee Hotel, over.
An auxiliary barrack ship stationed just offshore served as home base for the crews of the Huey UH-1B helicopters, nicknamed Seawolf. These gunships were one of the critical elements of the Navy's forces here. Another critical element was the fiberglass and aluminum hull patrol boat River, or PBR. The Mobile Riverine Force, or Brown Water Navy, was a unique combination of the Navy's Task Force 117 and SEAL teams, working together with the Army's 9th Infantry Division. And mobile, the Riverine Force was, as it could travel 150 miles in 24 hours and be ready for combat within 30 minutes of anchoring. Each day, the Seawolf helicopters and PBRs would leave at dawn on a 16-hour patrol to search out and destroy the Viet Cong guerillas, who consider the Mekong Delta their territory as well. Perfect coordination between the Seawolves and PBRs was imperative for successful operations and the minimization of casualties. Water seemed to be everywhere in the Mekong Delta during the monsoon season. With few formal roads, canals were the main avenues of transportation for the Viet Cong, and so all crucial Navy warfare tactics featured boats and helicopters in one way or another. The barrack ship also provided a mobile docking facility for numerous PBRs. Operations on the murky and shallow waters of the Mekong Delta required the PBR to be a very specialized craft. Only 32 feet long and drawing less than 1 foot of water, a PBR was propelled by a pump jet, as normal propellers would not have been able to survive the Delta's weed-choked waters. The PBRs were designed to be highly maneuverable and were capable of a top speed of 20 knots. A compact but sophisticated radar system searched for Viet Cong activity around them. A PBR was heavily armed for such a small boat, carrying twin 50 caliber machine guns facing forward and a 30 caliber gun facing aft. Throughout the Delta and in the infamous Rung Sat Swamp Marsh, the PBR saw a considerable amount of action between the long stretches of tense boredom that occurred during a typical patrol. The waters of the Delta were traveled upon by the Vietnamese people in a long, narrow, and shallow draft boat called a sampan. A Vietnamese peasant family living in the Delta frequently carried everything they owned in the sampans, such as rice, livestock, and fishing nets. The Delta was filled with thousands of peasant sampans going every which way. However, sampans were also used by the Viet Cong to secretly move weapons and supplies. Perhaps the most confusing part of the war for a Navy sailor assigned to the Mobile Riverine Force was to know just who was Viet Cong and who was loyal to the South Vietnamese government. Each and every sampan was searched for any evidence of Viet Cong collaboration. But without uncovering hidden weapons, it was next to impossible to identify a Viet Cong guerrilla. Sometimes they were uncovered too late, as many Viet Cong sampans were booby-trapped. A noteworthy statistic from this war is that more than 10% of U.S. casualties were from crude, homemade booby traps. One of the many tragedies of the Vietnam conflict was the victimization of the peaceful villagers who received nothing but misery and death. While desiring only to go about their daily tasks, they were subject to constant search by the Navy and, it is reported, under continuous threat from the Viet Cong to cooperate with them. The Delta villagers were caught in the middle of this war and were treated with suspicion, fear, and intimidation from each side. An average of 300 sampans was searched during a routine patrol. The PBRs cruised tirelessly back and forth, up and down every river and canal. Most searches revealed nothing meaningful, yet it seemed somehow that the Viet Cong always found a way to conduct their Delta operations. The sailors would search where any tall grasses appeared to be broken, where a boat might have been beached, and at the mouth of every canal. Every twist and turn meant the possibility of encountering Viet Cong guerrillas. If a PBR crew couldn't find any Viet Cong, they only had to be patient enough to let the Viet Cong find them. The boredom of a patrol would only be relieved when they would dock back at the barrack ship, or when the Viet Cong would suddenly attack.
Turn port 180. Over. Single Juliet. Iron Hat 2. Go ahead. Over. Iron Hat 2, Single Juliet. We're drawing fire from the beach. Coordinates X-ray Sierra 540210. Need the helos. Over.
True Juliet, this is Iron Hat 2. Roger out. Rich, this is radio. Scramble the helos. Okay, Bill. Check the fuel boost pump. All right, clear! Coming hot! Turn forward, 180.
Seawolf 43, how do you read?
This is 4-3, read you 5.
What's the story?
Bro? This is 4-3, interrogative your intentions this time.
This Kilo,
We're still receiving automatic weapons fire from the beach there. This is 4-3. Do you have the smoke on the beach?
this Kilo, that's affirmative, over.
Roger, that's the target area there.
Kilo, roger. No, this is Kilo, we'll make a fire run, over.
Kilo, this is 4-3. Let me know when you commence your run and we'll come in behind you there. Smoke in sight there. We received automatic weapons fire from the beach side and also from the tree line on either side of the smoke running from north to south. Over. Also, this is 4-3. Be advised, they have a 1.57 recoilless in there. Over.
When battle conditions in the Delta required a unit to conduct secret operations behind enemy lines and beyond the protection of PBRs and Seawolves, the U.S. Navy called upon its Special Warfare Commandos, the SEALs. Experts in combat at sea, in the air, and on the land, the SEALs were amongst the most effective U.S. fighting men throughout Southeast Asia. The waters in the mud of the Mekong River Delta made the movement of U.S. ground troops extremely difficult. The SEALs were highly trained to survive in the most formidable of these conditions and to endure any physical or psychological hardships which they knew could happen at any moment. The Rung Sat swamp marsh of the Delta was a deadly Viet Cong guerrilla stronghold. It was therefore a natural battlefield for the SEALs with their special skills. Using their highly developed deception and combat capabilities, SEAL units would either quietly avoid, or if need be, take out guards, then infiltrate the objective and carry out their mission, which on any given day might be intelligence gathering, kidnapping of key Viet Cong guerrillas, sabotage of Viet Cong facilities, or rescuing trapped U.S. personnel. Not far from this SEAL operation, the engagement between the Viet Cong and our PBRs increases in intensity. Despite the Seawolves' aerial firepower, the Viet Cong fearlessly direct their small arms weapons skyward. One well-placed Viet Cong bullet which hits the helicopter's engine, flight control linkages, or fuel tank can send it and the crew plummeting to the ground below, trapped behind enemy lines. The downing of a Seawolf brings about a quick retaliatory reaction from the PBRs. Although involved in an all-consuming battle of their own, a PBR radio operator immediately alerts the SEALs to the vicinity of the crash site so the survivors do not become prisoners of the Viet Cong. The SEALs find the Seawolf's crew before the Viet Cong do, but some members are severely injured and cannot be easily moved. The PBRs call in an airstrike to stop the advancing Viet Cong. The Navy's Douglas A-1 Skyraider was perfect for this close air support mission. Although seeming somewhat out of date when seen sharing carrier deck space with the more sleek and sophisticated jets, the A-1's heavy weapons load of rockets and bombs, all-weather flight capability, and basic dependable ruggedness earned it an illustrious career, not only with the Navy, but also with the U.S. and Vietnamese Air Forces as well. The A-1's tight and easy maneuverability, combined with a long loiter time, allowed the Skyraider the luxury of carefully selecting its targets. The Aviator could then safely drop ordnance to within 50 feet of friendlies, which is just what the PBRs and SEALs need right now. The rescue and medical treatment of downed soldiers has always been a high priority of the U.S. military. This is one major factor why the American soldier has been and continues to be so effective in battle. A mobile Riverine force search and destroy mission, such as the one presented here, was the Navy's primary response to the ever-present but invisible Viet Cong guerillas operating in the Mekong River Delta. Requiring expertly trained men and special equipment, the Navy was successful in preventing the Viet Cong from using the waterways and canals freely. This engagement was typical of the countless Delta engagements which occurred throughout the years of the Vietnam conflict. A lone firefight is but a small footnote in the long history of a war, but each is certain to be forever remembered by the soldiers who fought in them.